soon as I drove into Napa. I'm so grateful to be back here with you all, with my son Taj and my sister. He's now 16 months old. You know, we're living in a time where there is so much we need to stand up for. And I've learned that you can most powerfully stand up for others when you learn to stand up for yourself. And I want to tell you about how I came to that. I'm an immigrant in the United States and a first-generation Canadian, child to refugee parents who escaped war from their home country of Iran. They're members of the Baha'i faith in the 1980s were facing imprisonment, torture, violence because of their beliefs. So they chose to stand up for themselves, sacrifice their own desires to protect their family. They left in 1980. My father never saw his father again, and my mother was only reunited with her parents 25 years later. They left everything they knew to begin a new life. My parents came to Canada as educated professionals with university degrees that were completely disregarded in this new country. Despite being leaders in their profession, they had to rebuild from scratch. They had to go back to school, take odd jobs to support themselves and now their children so they could begin putting the building blocks back in place. I have this really vivid memory of my mom studying from a thick medical textbook and me and my younger brother jumping on her back, playing as young children do. My parents made huge sacrifices and worked hard because they wanted to make sure our family knew that we belonged. I had this deep sense of belonging as a kid, but that changed one day when I was 6 years old. We were at a big city sporting event, standing in a crowded room, when I overheard a woman tell my parents to go back where they came from. And I don't remember the exact words my dad used in response, but I remember he stood up for us. I walked away from that experience with a knot in my stomach. I felt sadness, anger, that despite my family's best efforts to work hard and fit in, this person still didn't believe that we belonged, and it broke my heart. I never wanted to feel that pain again. So I was even more determined to fit in, to impress, and be appreciated, needed even. I was kind, polite, a straight-A student, a Sunday school teacher. I volunteered regularly. I hated breaking any rule ever. I never wanted to stand out for the wrong reason, never wanted to give anyone a reason to not believe I wasn't where I was supposed to be. When I was 12 years old, I was again tested. I was riding home from school on the bus, and another child was teasing me, and in front of all the other kids, he called me brown cow. Brown cow. My eyes welled up, my palms got sweaty, my throat got tight, and now I wasn't just sad, but shocked, angry. How is it that despite doing everything right, following all the rules, doing the best I could, I was still being singled out? And in that moment, I remembered the way my parents stood up for themselves when I was 6. And all of a sudden, with the strongest conviction, I found myself speaking the best comeback my 12-year-old self could muster. At least brown cows make chocolate milk. I know, it sounds silly, but it was really significant for me. It was my way of proving that to this child and the entire school bus that it's not just okay to be different, but that our differences have value. And I knew, yes. And I knew what I chose to say in that moment or do in that moment, it was bigger than me. It was for all the kids on that bus who were different. And I look back and I laugh. Of course, as an adult, I would navigate that situation a little differently. Maybe. But I also acknowledge the importance of that moment. I finally understood that I had to shake off my conformity and to stand up for what I cared about so that I could really make a difference for others. I understood that being true to these values was how I could make a difference, that my authenticity was my act of service. It's not an easy task. I still fall into the trap of conformity, and I still wonder if it's worth speaking up when I see something that isn't right. It's easier to be quiet, because standing out might also mean being vulnerable. And so in those moments, I take myself back to that afternoon on the school bus and that feeling I had at the end after I made my groundbreaking declaration to the other kids. I remember that I felt free. It might be hard to admit, but is there something that you are doing right now that is also allowing you to conform? Maybe you saw someone that was wronged in front of you, but you were too afraid to speak up because maybe you felt like you were going to be making a scene. Maybe you saw something on social media that was hateful, but you just let it scroll on by because you didn't want to stir things up. I'm up here speaking to you all, and guess what? I also feel fear to share my thoughts and beliefs. Sometimes I'm not sure how it'll be received. But now, as a mother, a woman of color, a child of refugees, an immigrant here in the United States, I feel more than ever the urgency to stand up for what is right. Because I believe when we are allowed to be who we are, we can be more powerful and make that bigger impact. And for me personally, the way I'm now living my life is fueled by the responsibility of knowing that one day I'll have to explain it all to my son. A child born of two parents of different citizenships, different skin color, different cultural backgrounds, whose recent ancestors were slaves, whose great-grandparents were jailed for their religious beliefs, whose grandparents were refugees escaping war. For me, having my family be torn apart because of religious persecution and war, and then to face hate and discrimination because of their differences when they're just trying to rebuild a new life, breaks my heart. So today I stand for authenticity, for people to be who they are and accept others for who they are. And Taj will navigate his own path, holding this history, and decide what he will stand up for. So what are you standing up for today? What if you're not sure what you stand up for? Well, here's a simple question you have maybe even heard before that will help you figure it out. What breaks your heart? Take a moment to look inside yourself. What makes your heart ache? We can do this right now. I invite you all, close your eyes. Just take a minute, close your eyes, and ask yourself the question, what is breaking my heart? Not the world's heart, not your neighbor's heart. What is breaking your heart? You have to know this for yourself so that you don't fall into apathy or find yourself just following along in other people's beliefs and convictions. So what is it? Feel it. What does it feel like? Because usually the things that break your heart the most deeply are things that are related to your own personal experience. And whatever is coming up for you, this is what you stand up for. Open your eyes and look around and really see each other and go ahead and look around, know that each of you have had your heart broken. There was something that broke your heart that made you feel things that we often don't give time and space to feel. Does it involve speaking up? Or perhaps it involves listening? Are you going to organize? Or is it as simple as just getting out to vote and making sure your neighbors vote? Yes. In today's current climate, it's overwhelming to think about where we're going to begin or where we should begin or how we will make our biggest impact. But this is where you start. And so we will not conform and we will not let apathy take over. And this is not the time for us to give up. Because being true to the things that break your heart is standing in your authenticity. And I believe how we can most powerfully serve. And so it begins here. So let's hold on to the power of today to give us strength, and let's go out and do it.